Haime boys, Kevin and my son Jake. As you know, in Flagstick Golf Magazine and Flagstick.com this year to celebrate 25 years of my relationship with Jeff and Scott, and just Flagstick being in our community for 25 years, we're taking some featured tips and doing digital moments. Yeah. And this month, it's from 2006 to 2010, that era. My favorite one, actually, I got to tell you, there were a lot of tips to choose from. I chose a tip, Jake, from 2008. And Steve Warren, actually, my old pal from, at the time, Team 1200, now TSN 1200. Steve was with us for so many years there.
I remember this edition coming in.
It was good.
At the range.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great tip. And it was kill your slice forever. So this is a tip that many people will have learned from back then and still can today, because so many people slice. It was actually the feature in 2008, but I thought it was such a good tip, and there were so many neat ideas that golfers still could use today. It resonates today, that we're doing it again. So here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great one.
So the basic premise of the tip, Jake, and as you know now as a key member of our team here, is there's a lot of ways people slice a golf ball. I wish I could stand here. I wish we could stand here and just say, just do this and you'll never slice again. But people slice the ball for a lot of reasons. That's what makes it the kind of the scourge of golfers, is there's a lot of ways to hit a slice, aren't there?
Totally. And a lot of the things you do wrong, that's the easiest way to kind of make sure you hit the ball and bail out. So it's super common, but there's definitely a few trends in terms of why people do it.
So I've always tried to subdivide things into bite-sized pieces so people could learn easier. And I started, it might have been with this tip, but I started many years ago talking about 3 types of slicers. Starting position slicers, people who slice because of their starting position,
which is way more common than we think.
Way more common, and the easiest to fix, by the way. And then you've got your backswing slicers. You do something funky in your backswing, which forces you to cut across the ball and go down. And then you've got your downswing or your transition slicers who do something in transition. So let's start with the starting position slicer. So we got a ball teed up here. Step into that, Jake.
Sure.
And we'll just talk through it a little bit. So a couple of elements. First of all, ball position, obviously forward towards the front heel. You want to feel like you're behind the golf ball and ready to kind of swing to the inside of the ball and swing up on it a little bit. So maybe talk me through a couple of keys for you, Jake, when you stand over a ball or have a pupil standing over a ball. What do you like to see?
Yeah, well, first off, I think one of the great things to make sure you do is start by putting your club on the ground first, making sure that your club is pointing where you want the ball to go and not your body. And then I put my lead foot down in line with the golf ball to ensure proper ball position.
Yeah, forward, probably off the lead heel, right, with a driver.
Absolutely.
You want to hit the ball 2 to 3 degrees on the way up, so having the ball more forward is great.
Helps with that immensely.
And I do like your idea, same with the putter, right? When you line up your putter, club face first and then set your body to what you believe is a square alignment.
Yeah, it helps with your aim, it helps with your body alignment, it helps with a lot of things. And then
let's see it.
From there, widen out my stance to be a little wider than my shoulders with the driver. Gives me nice stability, and I feel like I can be behind the golf ball.
Not too wide, though. I just had a lesson earlier today where I had the big wide stance feeling strong, but now you can't rotate and move your weight from foot to foot. So not too wide, just a little bit wider than those shoulders.
Agreed. And then once you're in that position, I take my proper grip, and now what I do is I allow myself to feel like I'm tilted behind the golf ball a little bit. I don't want to feel like I have to tilt my shoulders back and bend all these muscles in my side. But if I widen out my stance and I keep the ball forward, I will naturally be tilted a little bit behind the ball.
Yeah, which you really need to do. It allows you to swing from the inside. You're behind the golf ball. You can see Jake's lead ear here. We'll scooch around him. Is well behind that golf ball.
Yeah.
He looks like he's centered behind it, right? So he doesn't look like he's forward too much. And you can see that tilt. If you look at his spine, his line is going to be something like this. How many degrees would you say, Jake? I said, let me use your driver for a second. Of course. Way back in 2008, I gave this trick where you hold your driver down and then you tilt until your driver hits your calf of your lead leg. It gives you 5 to 7 degrees. You think we still would teach that today?
I think a lot of tour pros and a lot of great amateurs are going to be somewhere from 2 to 5 degrees tilted back. So I think, getting to that 7-8 range is a little more than you'd normally recommend for a great player. But if you struggle with slicing, a little extra of that feeling can help with that.
All right, stand over that golf ball. So he's got, let's call it 4 or 5 degrees of tilt. The ball's forward. He's got a nice, athletic, little wider stance and a little bit of spine tilt. And then the other thing Jake's got is his forearms align beautifully.
Yeah,
now, Jake, let's get into what a slicer would do and a dress slicer would do. Show me that position.
Yeah, well, first off, a lot of people are going to put the ball too far back in their stance because they feel like they want to hit down and hit hard on it. And they usually, as you said earlier, will widen out their feet maybe a little too much. And then the real killer is they feel like their hands and their chest wants to be up at the golf ball.
Yeah,
so they feel on top of it.
The ball is forward, so they want the hands to get forward with the ball, not to exaggerate too much, and that opens up the upper body. So if you stand, you get your weight a little forward, trying to address that golf ball. Your hands are forward, your upper body opens, and now you're probably going to have that cut across. So be really careful when you stand over a golf ball not to get too far forward. Do it properly, Jake, and then do what we see every day.
So again, we're a little more behind the golf ball, more equally balanced between my feet, instead of leaning forward to try to address the golf ball and open my body up towards the ball.
Yeah, you know what I would even say as a final little note on this, and let's get to the backswing. When I stand over a driver, I keep my hands centered just near my belt buckle, and I don't even put the club right behind the ball. No one says you need to put those hands forward to reach for it. I actually leave my club a little bit back like this. So I look really comfortably behind it. I can move into that golf ball and hit it properly. So there's your setup, everyone, and what you want to watch out for if you're going to be that downward sliding across setup slicer. All right, golfers, we've switched spots. I'm the model now, and it's probably the number 2 reason people slice. You've got your starting position slicer, your bad setup, and now we've got the backswing slicer. Probably the most prominent one, you think, Jake?
I think it's the most common. I mean, you know, as you start to move your body and there's things that can go wrong. So it's definitely the most common.
I also think people want to hit the ball farther. They're not happy with how far they hit it. So I think if they move around more and do more things, they'll probably get more energy behind the ball. But I would tell most people too much movement in the backswing or trying to overdo your backswing really compromises forward speed, right?
It's a good way to say it, right? It compromises your ability to move forward, and it's the motion through the golf ball that makes the ball fly farther. It's not how big you went back necessarily. So if you can wind properly and have a longer backswing, that's great, but most people don't do that.
Yeah, I don't remember if I used it in 2008, but I called it delivery position, right, Jake, or we do here. You want to get the club in a delivery position so you can move properly.
Yeah, and the tip you call it a second setup.
Yeah, second setup. Did I?
You did.
Oh, you read the tip.
Yeah, of course.
Way to go, Jake. All right, let's get set up here and talk about the backswing a little bit. So we've got our nice little angle. We're behind the ball, as Jake likes to say. Just get naturally behind the ball with the forward ball position, the wider stance. 5 degrees of tilt is wonderful. My key is that at the top of my backswing, I still have that tilt. So the waist stays very level, and the lower body actually accepts the turn, but resists against it. So the lower body's not moving that much, and we're winding our body and feeling that pressure and that build into that back leg. It makes it easier to start our downswing with our legs, Jake. So it's a great check. When you look in the mirror, start like this. If when you swing back, you've maybe used your hips too much, or you've lifted or done some funny things, you're not in that wound up position, right?
Like you said, you compromise your ability to move forward. If you think about any sport, shifting your body extra or doing weird things that are going to compromise the weight in your feet, not a very good way to
the
push
weight
forward
should
to a
stay on
target.
the inside of that back foot. What do you like for explaining that? So way back in the 70s, John Jacob first talked about coil and said resist with your lower body, but I think you want to allow the hips to turn. They have to turn. You load into this back leg, but you don't let it straighten or collapse or lift up or shift out. So how would you best describe what we're trying to get people to do to wind into that leg?
I think saying you want to let your hips accept the turn but resist too much turn is actually a pretty good way to say it. I think you run into problems when you either move your hips too much or you start to try to restrict your hip turn, stop your hips from turning, try to do this properly, that's not great.
No, that's
'Cause
not
then
great either.
You can't turn your shoulders if you don't let your hips turn as well. But I think as long as your hips are turning, because your chest is winding your body and they're accepting that wind, you'll have lots of torque to move forward.
Yeah, you want to feel, if you stop up at that position, everybody, you want to feel weight on the inside of this thigh, maybe inside of the foot. It's okay if it travels into the heel a bit, but it can't get to the outside of the foot. And then the third thing that's really important is the structure of the arm. So as we swing back, we've got to maintain a certain amount of structure. Elbows down and together. I don't think that was in 2008, but we'll throw that in. Elbows down together and arms supporting the club. Again, in a delivery position. Think of throwing a ball from here. Same attitude or position we want to have here. Don't let that club collapse and go too far. Again, it's hard to get back to the golf ball.
Yeah, when you keep your arms what we call in front of your chest, so you keep that relationship nice and solid, it's very easy for them to work together into the golf ball, which means you can come from the correct path and accelerate to the golf ball. It's when you get really far behind your body or you really disconnect your arms and your chest in any way that it gets a little hard.
Controlled arm swing, nice tight body turn, maintaining angles, a level waist, and you're ready for delivery. I'm going to have you hit one, Jake. You've got a pretty shortish backswing, a la John Rahm. It's longer than his, but same type of thing. But you're a stocky guy. You don't have the big, long, lanky levers moving all over the place.
No, I don't.
And you hit it about 300 in the air. You hit it 30 yards past me now. So let's jump in here.
Sure.
Thanks for not saying, no, it's 40, Dad. But anyway.
Don't have to, because you will.
Yeah. Just watch the move and the quietness. So there's the setup with the little angle, a little bit behind that ball. Just watch his legs and how quiet everything stays in this backswing, everyone. Little rehearsal move, and then back we go. Goodbye, ball. Sorry about that. Good shot. So you see that not a lot of movement in that backswing is necessary to really get accelerating speed. Great message. We got a couple of drills we're going to give you at the end of the video, so stay for that. Number 3. What's the number 3 slicer? This is the testosterone, want to hit that ball so your unwind isn't in the right sequence, right? So maybe comment on that a little bit, Jake. Show us the proper sequence forward a little bit. And then, we'll just chat our way through this one. I think so many people want to hit it hard, and the urge is to hit at the ball, and that unwinds the upper body and gets that club working outside, right?
Yeah, we mentioned the idea of a kinematic sequence in the downswing, unwinding athletically and in the proper order. And if I wind my body up correctly, that order should be my lower body leads my downswing. My thigh kind of moves to the target. We talk about a hip bump a lot.
Yeah.
And then as my hips lead, my upper body can begin to unwind and follow. And what happens is when I have that proper sequencing, because my chest is a little patient while my hips start, my club moves back and around me a little bit, and that shallows the
It
path.
actually drops a little bit. If we show you from this position here, everyone, as we swing back and then drive the legs, there's a tendency for that club to kind of shallow and sling around us, right?
Which helps us hit from the inside and avoid a slice. When you mess that process up, when you start using your upper body too early, when you initiate your downswing from here, we can start to see how the club might get a little bit too much outside, and why I would want to.
That's the urge to hit down on the ball, right? I think in that article, everyone, there was a golf ball with an X and a check mark on it, and the check mark was on the inside bottom of the ball, and the X was top out here. Even thinking about trying to hit the inside of the ball, or I also use the analogy in this tip about, serving a volleyball underhanded. You want to feel that way when you hit the driver. You want to be hitting 2-3 degrees on the way up from an inside path around you. So that idea is really great. Keeping your upper body back, maybe holding it off a bit, leading with the legs. And just getting that club gathering speed as it heads into and up on the golf ball, right?
Yeah, and the most important part for the average golfer to be able to do this is to remember you need to have good rhythm in transition. If you try to swing very hard from the top, it is almost impossible to let your legs lead because your upper body will take control. If you remember that a little bit of patience, Rory's famous line is, when my transition feels slow, I try to slow it down again, right? If you're patient in transition, it's way easier to unwind properly and stop slicing.
It's where the speed is quick. The other analogy we use is a sports car going into a hairpin turn. If you step on the gas at the first part of the turn, you're in the gravel. You have to wait till you turn the corner, which is the legs leading the downswing and the club dropping a little bit to step on the gas. And players like Jake, who hit the ball 300 plus, will tell you they try to hit the ball at the bottom really hard. They don't try to make their transition quick or fast. So some of it's positioning, some of it's instinct as well. That's that downswing slicer. He wants to hit down and across that ball too much, right?
Yeah, again, very common, especially those who take up golf later in life. You know, they have a lot of upper body strength. They feel like that's the best way to hit it hard, and it just puts you in a bad position.
Yeah, my last comment would be, Jake, and we've learned this through our Gears 3D motion capture, which we didn't have in '08, but I think I used to really emphasize legs first to keep the head back, but the upper body's got to stay with the lower body. So the lower body leads, but you know, we see a lot of golfers too doing this, which won't lead to a slice, but it's another problem of getting underneath that golf ball.
Yeah, it's a good point. Trying to throw your legs at the ball as hard as you can is not actually a very good way to practice this, because then you're throwing it for other reasons. So it's understanding how to deploy properly, maintaining that rhythm that helps fix your downswing.
Okay, so we've got Jeff Potter behind the camera. We're going to sandbag him here because, well, let's stop the video now, but we've got a few drills we want to show, but I think they're better from down the line. So let's stop the camera. There's your 3 slicers, everyone. Starting position, backswing, and change of direction or downswing slicers. Here's some drills to fix it now. Okay, golfers, it's drill time. Things we can do to get rid of that slice permanently. We've discussed the setup. We've discussed, lots, right? The 3 different types of slicers and what to look for. Here's a couple of drills for you. We've got 2 each. There were more than that in the article, so check the article out. Read the article, but a couple. I've got my baseball bat here, which since that tip, I've drilled a golf club in the end of it to kind of really show. But the basic concept is, Jake, I think it's a great drill for people to just swing baseball. I mean, golf really is not an up and down game. Because the ball's on the ground, your arms swing up and down. But like tennis, like baseball, you know, it's a back and through game. We're trying to wind up and then unwind. And whether it's a baseball bat or a golf club or a tennis racket or anything rotational, I think it's a nice thing for slicers to just practice like that. So, you know, standing and just turning back and turning through and letting your back foot release, just kind of swinging a la baseball, will kind of reshape and get rid of a lot of this tilty hit down stuff. So I like just swinging it chest high. I think it's a great thing that golfers can do to get better, and we use the baseball bat to really help people understand, but you can do it with your golf club. It's great.
Yeah, it's really easy to do. It takes no time, no real setup, especially if you use your golf club, and then it can give you a really good feeling of being more rotational in your golf swing.
Yeah. Okay, what do you got? Let's see.
Well, on the lines of how my golf club should move, we have a box here for dramatic effect. A head cover is probably a better option for you guys to start with, but if you put something on the outside of your golf ball, so you put something there that you want to make sure you don't hit in your downswing. Restrictive drills where you put something in your way don't always work, but by having something very general here, I can start to understand the feeling of coming inside and shaping myself around the ball instead of coming over the top and hitting it on that box.
Yeah.
Like I said, a head cover is probably the more...
Well, let's get one. Let's get a head cover. We used the box back in '08 for Affected the magazine, but I think the more practical thing for all of you to do is just put a head cover behind your ball and a little to the outside. If you think about it, if your golf swing's a tilted circle around you, you should never hit that head cover. So if you find yourself nervous, or if you actually clip the head cover, nothing will happen, too painful, but you'll get the idea where your club path is.
Yeah, it's feedback, right? It's not stopping you from doing the wrong thing. It's teaching you how to feel the right thing by giving you feedback when you do
And we
it.
would always say start with small. Let's see a couple of little swings here, just to see that golf club shape around you, Jake.
I just want a lot like you were doing the baseball, just swing around so I don't hit the head cover. And to do that, I can just bump the ball off the tee. And I should be able to do that progressively bigger and bigger as I get to practice.
Yeah, I think, Jake and I would tell you, You know, there could be a brick wall here. There could be your father here, and there's no risk of ever hitting it because the club works around you. There's no flinching. I know what the club's doing. I do not suggest you try that yourselves, but it's just to prove that it doesn't matter to a pro what's outside the ball because the club is always swinging around, right? You had an opportunity there, kid. Thanks for not taking it. Thanks for not taking it. Okay, my second one is called the trailing foot for a right-handed golfer, a right foot back drill.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite driver drill. I've taught it for years and years. I've YouTubed it, I've done everything with it, but here it is, everyone. So stand very squarely, everything the way it would normally be, and then don't open your hips in your chest or close your hips in your chest. Just pull this foot back a little bit and get a little closer to the other foot for balance. So we move it well off the line, almost to the heel of my lead foot. And what this does, it kind of ensures rotation. One more thing I'd like to say is don't let the golf club wing way in behind you because that also can cause a slice. Too much in leads to too much over. So we're going to try to swing the club back pretty well here, but obviously throwing the club and or not rotating is kind of a non-option. I can't sway because I don't have a leg there to support me. I'm not going to throw because there's nothing there to support me. So it just gets the club working the right way.
Yeah, it's a great way to hit golf balls and feel like you turn into your hip and then come more from the inside. The only thing, again, is that I maybe wouldn't do it at full speed to start, everybody.
No,
because you can lose your balance if you do it wrong.
I don't know where I can. I think that's about right, but we've got this foot pulled well back, and we're just going to swing and just let the club hit the inside and up at the ball. And you just hit little draws like that time after time after time, and it would be very awkward for me to go this way. So I love the drill. I would just hit little ones like I was there. I've had high handicappers who've sliced their whole lives hitting draws in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you just make them continue that smaller backswing motion with the rotation and the movement into and up on the ball, and there goes the slice.
And it's great because it gives you a feeling that you can then replicate in your golf swing, right? It's a drill where you do it with the foot back several times, you feel what that golf swing feels like to your body, and then you replicate that with the foot in the normal position next.
Do that all day and just feel like a little forehand in tennis, club moving from the inside. I've got about a little over 200 yards, so it's amazing if your path and your club face are correct. How you don't have to create a giant swing to hit the ball a reasonable amount of distance, right?
Totally. Let the club do the work.
Okay, what's number 2 for you?
So the last one we'll talk about here is if I grab an alignment stick. It's something I can do to teach me how to have that hip bump we talked about in the previous segment. If we put that in the ground about where my ankle is, and I set myself up, what it allows me to do here is I can turn back and practice my backswing, and then work on having my thigh or hip bump onto the stick. So I can push forward, and it's giving me some feedback as to whether I've used my legs properly in my downswing. If you throw them like crazy, or you spin too early.
That's the one we always see, right?
Which is a huge slice causer.
Yeah.
This will give you feedback. So I can bump my hip into the stick and then turn.
I would also say, Jay, go ahead back again.
Sure.
Do that one more time for me. I would also say it's the first move, right? Watch Jake's thigh kind of move over and towards that stick. I mean, that you want to do it first. And then once you get near the stick, you rotate and square the club.
Absolutely, and it's a great way to get feedback. You can hit balls like that. I mean, this is a drill you can do at high speed. Put a golf club at your thigh, on your ankle, bump and turn. It'll give you feedback as to whether your body's starting its downswing correctly.
Love it. So there we go, 4 drills that can help you beat that slice. Whether you're a starting position slicer, a backswing slicer, a downswing slicer, a little bit of attention to detail about the lines in your body and how much you're moving.
Yeah.
And then some drills with some 3/4 swings, really focusing on being behind and swinging up at the ball, and goodbye slice. I think everybody watching this video could get rid of it. It just takes a little of attention to detail and a little bit of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing we can also say is it also takes understanding why you slice, right? Which of these 3 are you, or are you all 3? And if you understand that, usually
The trifecta of slicing.
By,
Jeff Botter. No, Jeff hooks the ball. Jeff's underneath
Yeah,
the
he's
plane.
the
That'll
opposite.
be another month in Flagstick magazine. Jeff's underneath. But I think he beat me at Bella Collina one. I think he beat me by a shot down at Bella Collina in the winter
There
at
you
the
go.
golf show. Yeah. Loaves and fishes. It was kind of a loaves and fishes moment. Anyway, Jeff, thank you so much for another month and another year of great tips. Scott, too, at Flagstick. You guys are awesome, and we'll see you next month for another great lesson here on flagstick.com.